Welcome to the Delicious Dignity Podcast. Let's settle in securely and ever so nicely into the brilliance of our own dignity. I just want to remind you, in case you missed it or forgot, that LLS stands for Love Liberation Series. This is a series within the Delicious Dignity Podcast, where every few episodes or so, I will liberate and will explode the love I have inside of me for someone, something, someplace, or some event. We're really working with the belief here that the point of life is to enjoy it. And so this series, if nothing else, is to inspire you and encourage you to let yourself love what you love. And the end result of that is that eventually you can ground and steady yourself in your own delicious type of dignity, your own heaven on earth. So let yourself light up from the inside out, and let's go to the episode. Hello, beautiful people. I've been procrastinating recording this episode because it is about someone who is the closest to my heart and someone who has really changed my life in so many ways that I could not have anticipated. Someone who changed the rules that I had for myself, someone who changed my desire to just be alone all the time, someone who changed everything for me, and that someone is my dog Azar. There's this cheesy saying that I heard once. It's dog when spelled backwards is God. And as a companion to my dog, I can honestly say this is truer than I ever imagined it to be. I could not have imagined that this is the level of relationship anyone could have with anyone, let alone a human with a dog. I didn't think this type of relationship was possible on the planet, period. I knew it was possible in my fantasies, because especially when I used to watch Disney movies when I was younger, and I loved Disney movies when I was younger. I loved them. And most people would focus on the prince or something like that. But I was always focused on these princesses just loving on the animals they were with and the animals loving on them. And I thought, oh my God, I want to grow up and do that. I just want to be loved on by these creatures, and I want to love on them, and I want to live this magical life with them where we help each other out. And of course, I grew up and realized that's not how reality is, but I can honestly say I live that Disney princess life now almost every day with my dog. God, I really see now why I procrastinated on recording this episode. There is something really special about dogs, or just animals in general. They are not plugged in to the matrix of human dramas and suffering the way we as humans are entrenched in it. And I think because they are just so out of that cycle, out of that energy, out of that reality, in a way they become our bodhisattvas. I understand now why so many people name their dogs Bodhi after bodhisattvas, because they really are these. Bodhisattva is a being who achieved enlightenment, but instead of leaving the cycle of suffering and karmic reincarnation, they choose to reincarnate anyway to help the other humans be enlightened too. And it really feels like, I don't know about all dogs, but I know Azar, it feels like that with Azar. It's even more special to me because I never wanted a dog. I loved dogs. I love animals, like I said, but I never wanted to have one in my house where I had to look after them and clean up after them. I thought they were dirty, smelly, slobbery, drooly, and the constant licking, I don't like that either. I know for some people listening to this, they're like, how can you not like it when they lick you? And I don't like it. I also was someone who was a bit of a nomad, and I would change my home base every 2 or 3 years. So for me, having a dog, I thought I'd be tied down. Back then, I really liked to travel, or I thought I did anyway, so I thought that a dog would tie me down. Yeah, I had every single reason that you could possibly imagine for not wanting an animal in the house. I had them all. And there was not one part of me, not even 0.1% of me, that wanted a dog. I did not want one. So the fact that here we are today, even doing this episode, is just so special. And it really, I hope this story shows you just how life can work in your favor in ways that you cannot even imagine. Even when you are against the very thing that comes into your life. Because the funniest thing is, I did end up with a dog, but I got a dog who is actually very clean. I don't know how, but he doesn't smell, he doesn't slobber, he doesn't drool, and he doesn't lick. He very rarely licks. So when he does lick me, it's like, oh wow, I've been blessed by the gods. It's so hilarious that I got exactly what I wanted, just not in the way in which I thought I would get it. Because who knows a dog that doesn't lick and is not dirty? This usually comes with the territory. But here we are. So I want to tell you the story of how it even came to be, just so you can see all of the different things that had to happen in order for me to even be open to him. So here we go. I think I'll start the story with when I moved into a shared home with 4 other strangers in Seattle. And about a year in, we got a new roommate, and he had an 8-year-old pit bull named Kima. And of course, I was excited to have a dog in the house, especially a dog that's not mine, because I don't have to take care of her. And until that point, I never really even thought I could live with a dog. So there was a part of me that was a little bit annoyed because I thought, oh, she's going to dirty up the place. She's going to shed everywhere. It's just too much work, etc. But the fact that I didn't have to look after her or clean up after her, I was completely fine. I get all the benefits of being with a dog without all of the responsibility. I used to think that, like I said, that they would shed everywhere, that they would ruin my independence, they would make my pristine little life very inconvenient. And so in comes Kima, and I get to enjoy her. And her companion, her human companion, would leave for work every day. And I worked from home. So I got to hang out with Kima 24/7, almost every single day that she lived in that house. And she taught me and she showed me that everyday life with a dog wasn't so bad. She had this wiggly butt, and she had this tendency to contort her whole body into a tiny ball to fit into my 5'2" lap. And she had this way of howling, this ow, like she would howl like that almost every morning. And every time, I would tease her or try to play with her. And I would really look forward to that every day. So she was kind of my dog without being my dog. And all those things that would annoy me, like shedding and the smells. And she was very smelly. And she did shed quite a bit. And she would hop on the furniture, even though I didn't like that. So she did all of those annoyances that I thought were unbearable. She did them all. And I learned to not find them as annoying. When I did move out of that shared house and into a gorgeous loft that I was renting, and this was during the pandemic, I realized maybe I can just foster some dogs. And to this day, I can't remember how I made that leap. Between moving out of the house and being in the loft, I don't even know how I found the company that I did to foster dogs from. I don't know how all of that happened. I couldn't tell you. All I know is that I found this company called Dog Gone Seattle. Excellent organization. They rescue dogs and then they put them up with fosters. And then people come to adopt those dogs from the foster. And what's really lovely about adopting from a foster is that these animals are not as stressed out as they would be if you get them straight from a kennel. Not that getting them from a kennel is a bad thing, but the fosters have done most of the work for you so that you get a dog that's a little bit more stable, a little bit more trained, and a little bit used to being in the home environment. Now, keep in mind, I was still very commitment phobic. So fostering puppies was perfect. You love them, you train them, and then you give them away. And to say that fostering puppies was one of the most challenging things I've ever done is an understatement. It triggered every wound I had, my nervousness, my anxiety, my anger, my shame, my low self-esteem, my guilt, all the things I thought I had somehow transcended in myself. If they peed on my rug, I'd be blinded with rage on the inside. If they got sick, I thought I had failed as a human. If they were fearful of something, I thought it was because I didn't make them feel safe. I made all their problems a reflection of myself. And it's a tendency I've had my whole life. And my first foster was named Tandy. And then there was Soul. And then there was Grace. And these were the 3 puppies I fostered. And I had a glorious time with them when I wasn't panicking or stressing out. But puppies are hard. They're so difficult. But because they're puppies, I would train them, love them, and within a week or 2, they would be adopted because puppies go faster than adult dogs. Then, after all 3 of them had left my home, I was waiting for my 4th foster dog to arrive. He was a puppy being driven to Seattle from California by the foster who had him in California. Except the foster's car kept having issues and breaking down. And me, being the impatient person I am, I was getting impatient. I've been waiting for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks for this foster dog to arrive, and I had no fosters with me. So I asked my case manager to assign me to another foster who was there, and she in turn asked me to pick a foster from the dogs that were lined up to come to Seattle. And I kept looking at this website, and every time I looked online, I would see this beautiful... Actually, let me back up. The first time I looked online to see what fosters were available, it's like I couldn't even see all the other ones. I just went straight to this beautiful caramel, brindled, light brownish gold, gentle-eyed soul named Cappuccino. And this was maybe a 7th or 6-month-old puppy when they took the pictures of him. And he just looked like he was an angel. He just looked like an angel to me. And I looked at him and I just couldn't believe he wasn't picked up by a foster yet or didn't even immediately get an adoption. And I saw his profile and I just fell in love with the way he looked. The look in his eyes, that's what it was. It was these yellow eyes, yellow gold eyes, and they just looked like a monk. They looked like a saint. That's what they looked like. And I didn't sign up to foster him immediately. To this day, I just think how lucky I was that really the world waited for me to find the courage to foster him, because I kept going online and I kept seeing... I would go online to the foster page maybe 7-8 times a day just to check whether Cappuccino was still there. And I would think about how amazing it would be if I could foster him. Keep in mind, I'm still not thinking about anything close to adopting. But for some reason, it triggered the part of me that I didn't realize at the time, but was wondering whether I was worthy of fostering this dog. And I don't know why it triggered in me that, because I would look at this dog and see this dog for this incredible being that he was, and I thought I would just mess it up if I fostered him. So better somebody else foster him. And it's funny, because people say don't choose people based on their looks, or don't choose love at first sight isn't a thing. Love at first sight, I definitely believe in love at first sight because of Azar. And I did choose him based on his looks, but only because the looks were so telling of who he was. I wanted a wolf dog. If I ever fantasized about having a dog and I was like, oh, what would be my favorite dog breed? It was a wolf dog, a half wolf, half dog. I would visit wolf sanctuaries a lot just to meet these wolf animals. And if I had to pick any dog based on looks, it would have been a wolf dog. But I saw Cappuccino, and Cappuccino looks nothing like a wolf dog. Completely the opposite of a wolf dog. He just looked like a saint to me. And that's why to this day I call him the gentleman monk, because that's exactly the feeling he gave me when I saw his picture. And I'll put a video of his profile and everything else in the ritual guide so you can see what I mean. But yeah, back to the story. Looking back now, I was just really afraid. For some reason, I didn't have oh my God, it's this love at first sight. I love this dog and he's going to be with me forever. It was more like, oh my God, this dog is such an incredible being and I don't deserve him. Or I will mess this up. Or maybe I'm just being weird, or I'm just overthinking it. It's just a dog. And all of that was just fear. Now I can see that in hindsight. And also I thought maybe I'll just keep waiting for my foster, the one that was assigned to me. I thought I should be patient and just wait, because being patient is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. I thought I was being impatient, and so I should just wait and wait for my foster. It's funny how our mind rationalizes things just to keep us from our own intuition. Every day, like I said, 7 or 8 times a day, I would keep checking the website, trying to see if Cappuccino had been picked up to foster. I was waiting for an excuse not to foster him. See, someone else fostered him, so now I have no choice but to wait for my assigned foster. It's funny, sometimes we wait for the world to decide for us so that we can avoid taking responsibility for our feelings and our destiny. And I don't know what came over me, but one day, before I knew it, I texted my case manager and I said, please assign Cappuccino to me. Now, here's what happened. That day that I got Cappuccino assigned, maybe less than 24 hours later, my case manager texted me and said, oh, remember that foster that kept getting delayed that you were assigned to before Cappuccino? I was like, yes. She said, well, they're finally on their way now, and the dog will be here at the same time Cappuccino will be. Will you take both dogs? And I thought, how interesting is that? Once I signed up to take Cappuccino and it was already assigned to me, now the dog arrives. Fascinating, right? I said no because I had fostered 2 puppies before and it was not the best experience. I will never do that again. It was too much for me. And also keep in mind, I live alone. And also I have a full-time job. So it was just too much for me. So I'd never do it again. So I said no to my previously assigned foster and I said yes to Cappuccino. And as soon as Cappuccino arrives, I fell in love with him. But again, in a foster-like way. He was everything my intuition had picked up on when I first saw his picture. He truly was a gentleman monk. But again, I was very clear. I was going to enjoy being with him, train him, and then give him away. And he, when he first met me, he wanted nothing to do with me. He's not very human-oriented. He's more other dog-oriented. He likes other dogs more than he likes humans. And he just wanted to get away from me. He wanted to go back to his brothers who were in the van that had dropped him off. He wanted nothing to do with me. And when the time came to write, after a week of being with him and he's getting used to me and I'm getting used to him, when the time came to write his bio for his adoption profile, I just couldn't do it. I wanted to keep him just a little while longer. So I kept making up excuses for why he needed to be with me a little while longer. But a little while longer came and went. And I asked my case manager to just give me a little bit extra time to decide whether he's going to be mine or not. And around this time, I started panic calling everyone I knew because I realized that I just wanted him with me. I wanted to be with him. And I was panic calling everyone I knew who had a dog and trying to ask them for advice on whether I should have a dog. And as I was talking to them, I'm hearing myself talk to them, and I could hear how I thought I was going to ruin his life, and therefore I shouldn't have a dog. I was talking about how I'm not that patient, I'm not that kind, I can get irritated very easily, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, am I going to be a good dog owner? Can I do this? That's what I was asking all these people about. And it was so funny because now looking back, I can see how terrified I was of having this beautiful animal by my side. And I remember some of them validated my concerns, saying that, yeah, you're going to be tied down, blah, blah, blah. Are you sure you really want this? And some of them were like, no, you'll just figure it out as you go. And one person said, oh, don't worry. If you decide you don't want him and it's a bad experience, you can just give him back up for adoption or put him in the shelter or something. And it was funny because I needed someone to say that to me because I realized in that moment that there was no way that I would ever give him up, no matter what. It's almost like, they say how every hero needs a villain. I needed someone to say that to me so that I could say to myself, oh, wow, no, that's never going to happen. This is my baby. So yeah, I put in my application for adoption. But you know what? It was really strange how the same thoughts in my head, when they are repeated to me by someone else, they sound wrong. But before someone else repeated it back to me, I believed them. I thought they were valid. So when someone said, oh, having a dog is a big responsibility, it's really tough. Those were my thoughts that they were saying out loud. But when they said it, it didn't sound true. But when I used to think it in my own head, it sounded very true. And I saw the silliness of how they sounded when someone else was saying it back to me. So in February 2022, I made the decision to adopt Cappuccino, and I named him Azar. It's a variation of the word atar, or I would drag the A out and say atar, which in Avestan, which is the Zoroastrian religion, our books were written in Avestan. And in Avestan, it meant holy fire, son of God, light, or the visible presence of the divine, which I thought suited him perfectly, because that is who he is to me. After that, it's just been him and I don't want to glorify this and say that it's been all sunshine and roses. The first 2 years were really difficult. I spent more money on his medical bills in 1 year than I did on my own medical bills since the day I arrived in the United States. In 15 years that I had been in the United States, I spent more money on his medical bills in 1 year than I did in 15 years that I had lived in the US. And then, of course, the next year was the same. And it was difficult, but not just because of the bills, but because of how much pain he was in and suffering, because of he just had repeated gut issues. Every month there would be a gut issue. And now it's more like once or twice a year he will have a gut issue, which, you know what, I will take it. He does not have to be perfect. And you know, that idea of wanting perfection, wanting things to be exactly so, that need in me has died down because of Azar. Because I've learned to accept good enough. I've learned to accept good is good. And my favorite thing now to do with Azar, it took us 2 years to just get used to each other, which is so counterintuitive to what you might expect when you have a dog. Most dogs, or at least how I imagined having a dog, was that within a month we'd be best buds. And that wasn't the case. It took us 2 years to fit into each other's rhythm, for him to understand me, for me to understand him. And of course, every day we would get closer and closer. But I think it was after 2 years that we just bonded completely. So it took about 2 years for the bond to cement. And because I had to learn so many things about him, not about dogs, I want to make that distinction. I had to learn his language, not what trainers were saying about dogs, not what other people gave me conventional wisdom about dogs, but really just look at him as a being and tune into what he needed and what he wanted and what his personality was. So for example, people say, take your dog out for walks every day. As it turns out, Azar hates walks. He really does not like it. He does not like the cars around. He does not like people walking behind him. He doesn't like walking on a street. Also, the concrete is usually very hot for him to walk on. And even with boots, it's just not his favorite thing. He's just uncomfortable. He's on guard. He's anxious. And I realized that this is a dog that just does not like walks. And instead of forcing him to like walking, I will instead take him on hikes. And it turns out he loves hikes because one of his favorite things to do in the world is climb. He loves climbing. This boy is afraid of a leaf blowing in the wind, but he will climb an almost 70 to 80 degree vertical rock face with ease. I've never seen a dog so confident and so sure of himself than Azar rock climbing. But again, if a gust of wind blows by when he's walking on the street or a leaf falls down in front of him, he gets scared. I learned to understand the complexities of his personality in a way that I really had to trust my own intuition, and I had to trust him. And it took me about 2 years to figure that out. A lot of people I've noticed teach their dogs how to shake hands and stuff. For some reason, I found that really disrespectful. With Azar, I had no desire to teach him how to shake hands or any tricks. I don't know why, but with Azar specifically, it just didn't feel right. So for him, the only thing I trained him really, really well, and I keep reinforcing the training almost every day, is how to sit, how to stay, how to come when I tell him to come, and stop or wait or no. I use those words interchangeably, and he can understand the difference now between stop, wait, and no, because they are slightly different and used in different contexts. These are the only things that I want to teach him, because for me, I just feel like he doesn't have to do anything more to fit into my world. I put myself in his shoes all the time, and I think about what it must be like to be a dog and live in a human world, and how much they have to compromise already. Like, he doesn't get a choice on when he goes out to pee or poop. He doesn't get a choice in that. He doesn't get a choice in what types of food he can eat, mostly because his gut is so sensitive and I can't give him the food that he really wants, but he doesn't get much choice. And it brings me so much joy to see how he thrives when I give him as much choice as I possibly can. And I don't overtrain him. Because for him specifically, again, this does not apply to all dogs, but for him specifically, he just needed a few training commands and know them really well, because it helps him fit into my lifestyle much more easier than if he didn't know those commands, especially when we hike. I need to be able to say, stop, and he should stop. I need to be able to say, come here, and he comes to me immediately. In the dog training world, this is known as recall. You recall your dog and he comes back to you. My dog is excellent with all those things, but that's the only thing that I wanted to really teach him. Yeah, and just seeing his personality come out, it's just been such a beautiful experience. And the funny thing now is I don't feel restricted at all. Not at all. I used to love traveling, but now I realize I have no desire to travel if Azar can't come with me. And that doesn't feel restrictive at all. I just get maybe a little bit overwhelmed with all the considerations and planning I have to do, especially when Azar is coming with me. But I don't enjoy traveling the way I used to. In fact, I prefer just being at home. And that's not a bad thing. And I forgot to mention, I put all of the products that I had to spend so much money on before I actually found the right products for the dog and what works for a dog. So I put all the products for you in the ritual guide so you can see if you're planning on having a dog, or if you just need a good first set of products for a dog, like leashes and water bowls and things like that, and you just don't know where to look or what to consider. I've put them all for you in the ritual guide. I just have so much love for Azar, and I don't know if I will ever have another dog after him or with him. Every now and then I fantasize about it, but I don't think so. It's just the way he came into my life and the way it all happened. The experience of him coming into my life, I love just as much as him coming into my life, because I don't think I would have ever come to this point if things hadn't happened exactly the way they happened. Everything from Kima to fostering to my assigned foster not working out, all of it together just created this incredible experience where Azar and I are just together and really bonded. I think for me, one of the most fantastic things about having Azar in my life is just how much love and connection I experience every day. And I'm sure people experience that with humans too, but it's really different with Azar. It's not the same kind of connection I get with people. And yeah, the level of connection, the level of companionship, and just like this deep sense of assurance, because I'm assured by the connection, by the constant interaction we both have. He moves, I move, he moves. I look at him, I know what he needs. He looks at me and he knows what I need him to do. It's just this beautiful, flowy, interconnected relationship that honestly, if I'm being honest, I thought I would have wanted with a man. I would have wanted with a human man, but the fact that I even have it with a dog, it's just beautiful. Yeah, so if you're ever thinking of getting a dog, or if you have the same concerns that I did about having a dog, and you really just want to see whether you should have a dog, I would really recommend fostering first. I really would. Foster before you adopt, or just foster multiple dogs before you find the one. I would also recommend that if you don't want to foster, work with shelter dogs. Take them out for walks, play with them. That's a way you can dip your toe in. Or even if that doesn't work, offer to take your friend's dog for a walk. Learn to be with dogs. There are just so many ways in which you can dip your toe in, especially if you're someone like me who just had a lot of wounds that were getting triggered by an animal. It's so much better if you just dip your toe in. Just dip your toe. You don't have to jump all in and adopt a dog, because that's part of the hesitation that we all have. Sometimes we need a runway before takeoff. Give yourself the dignity of a runway. With really everything in life, you don't always have to jump in. You can give yourself some leeway, a runway. If you want me to do an episode on just how I trained him and what I train him on specifically, more specifically than what I talked in this episode, then you let me know. All right, my lovelies. Thank you so much for listening to our beautiful relationship. I hope it inspires you to interact with the natural world just a little bit more than you already have been. So until next time, my lovelies, may the natural world with all its friends, animals, plants, rocks, rivers, mountains, valleys, may the entire natural world with all its friends honor and celebrate and expand your dignity. And may you honor, celebrate, and expand their dignity. Much love to you. Bye for now. Hello, friends. May I please make a request of you? If you really love and want to support the show, can I ask that you leave a written review? The reason I ask this is because written reviews help other people see what they can expect from the show. It's one thing for me to say, hey, this is all the things that you can expect. It's another thing to see strangers talking about what they have experienced with the show. So it helps put the show in front of the right people. It helps support the show and gives it visibility, and it helps me to see what's resonating with other people. So I'm not just producing content like a machine. I'm producing things that actually help you, actually feel good to you to hear, and hopefully add a little extra special something in your day, in your life. And so, yes, please consider leaving a written review. Thank you so much if you do. Bye.